Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Effective Board Member webinar, brought to you by UGN Consulting Services as part of our social corporate responsibility towards promoting good governance, good corporate governance. I hope you all can hear me. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so thank you all for joining. We appreciate your time. And from my experience, my work experience over the years as an external auditor for public and private organization, as a management consultant, and as a former member of the governing council of a faith-based organization, I came to realize that the individual member of any board has far-reaching impact on the outcome of the board and the outcome of the organization. As we can see presently and in the recent past, we have witnessed many corporate failures. We have heard of and witnessed many corporate failures, near failures, and corporate improprieties. And that makes one wonder, where was the board? What was the board doing? And this is becoming a global question. What are the board? What are the members of the board doing? So in this webinar, the effective board member, we're going to look at what it takes to be an effective board member. And I'll not be doing this alone. I have very distinguished guests that will join me. And I will introduce them later. Dr. Benson, Dr. Dutolu, they are seasoned players in the boardroom. To understand effectiveness, we have to first of all understand what, who, why, and how about whatever you want to be effective in. And in this webinar, we're going to dwell on the how. But to provide more background, we are going to look at who, what, why, and how. So who is a board member? Who is a board member? A board member is a person elected or appointed by shareholders as a fiduciary to jointly provide corporate governance for their organization. So the key points there is fiduciary, jointly, and corporate governance. And so that means that a board member is a fiduciary. And when you're a fiduciary, you have two duties. You have legal and ethical obligation to the duty of care, duty of loyalty. You have a legal and ethical obligation to do whatever you're doing in the best interest of the shareholders and also considering the interest of stakeholders. So you have a duty of care, a duty of loyalty. Then what do they do? What do board members do? That is, we're talking about the functions. So we're just going to look at the key functions of a board member. And the key function of the board and its members is to provide corporate governance. Remember the definition, we said jointly provide corporate governance. That is the key function of any board and of any member, provide jointly corporate governance. And by corporate governance, we mean that your duty is to provide strategic direction, strategic monitoring, provide strategic control, strategic oversight, strategic decision-making, strategic representation. And we're emphasizing the strategic. That shows you that the duties of the function of the board member is strategic, is high level. It's not on the day-to-day issues of the organization. Then we'll now go to what is the purpose. When we're talking about, we have looked at the who, the what, then we look at the why. What is the purpose? What is the purpose of the board? Why are you there? The purpose is to act in the best interest of the, this slide is not moving, sorry. Is to act in the best interest of the shareholders to ensure the going concern and continued success of that organization. That is the purpose. And then we'll now move on. Just 1 minute. We'll now move on to the how. We have seen the who, the what, the why. And when you stop at this, ineffectiveness. You are going to have ineffectiveness. You need to understand how. What does it take you? Apart from knowing who and what I'm supposed to do and why I should do it, how can I do it to be effective? So, and that brings us to the attributes of an effective board member. That is the meat of this webinar. Now, we're not going to pay attention. We're not talking about your qualifications. We're not talking about that. We're talking about attributes. That's the quality. And that's where competence comes in. When you say somebody is competent, the person has the knowledge, the person has the skill, and then the behavior. That's what makes the difference. The behavior, the qualities, the characteristics that will enable you perform more and get more out of what you're doing. So that's what we're looking at, the attributes of an effective board member. That is the how to being effective as a board member. So from our work in UGN Consulting Services and also from the little research we did, what other different school of thought has said about this matter, this topic, we also carried out a survey. And based on our analysis of the duties, the functions, and the responsibilities of the board, we came up with a top 7 attributes that any board member should possess. Or if you don't possess, you should start working towards developing those attributes, because these are the attributes that will make you to be effective. If you have these attributes, you are going to be effective in the boardroom. So all the practical examples and everything will happen during the panel discussion. So I'm just laying the background. And if you have any questions, just feel free to drop on the chat. So what are these attributes? Then looking at it in no specific order, we have number 1, experience. Experience. Number 1, an effective board member should be experienced. And when we're talking about experience, we're not only looking at your professional qualification. We're looking at experiences drawn from your from your work over the years, from your social interactions over the years, and also from your theory. That's what your educational experiences. That is the experience. Not only, okay, I'm an accountant, I have experience in accounting or in tax or in whatever, but the experience you have gathered throughout as you're interacting in different spheres. Maybe it might even be geographical experience. You have a knowledge, experience with this geography, having experience with this demography. So experience you have obtained over the years, both professional, social, and otherwise. You have to be experienced. Experience helps you in decision making and in making sound judgment. Then, like Rita Ma Brown said, good judgment comes from experience. So experience, that's an attribute. Then number 2, critical and strategic thinking. Strategic thinking involves critical thinking, but for emphasis, we are emphasizing critical and strategic thinking. Without this, you might not be able to make much impact. The board will not be able to go far, because like we said, the major key functions of the board is strategy. So you must be a strategic thinker, and you must be able to critically analyze. And when you are a critical and strategic thinker, that's when you'll be able to be objective, because it involves critical thinking, involves evaluation, assessment, so that you'll be able to come to a conclusion. It is used in decision making, decision making and in problem solving. So when you have a critical mind, there's no way you'll not be objective. And then when you are strategic, it will put you apart from the operationals, the day-to-day executive duties. You're looking at the high level, long term, 3 years, 10 years. You're looking outside the box, not only what is happening in the internal workings of the company. You're looking at external relationships, external impacts. How does the externalities impact us? You are looking at a holistic view. So an effective board member should be a critical and strategic thinker. Next, number 3. Number three, if my slides are not moving fast. Number three is committed. Number three is committed. An effective board member should be a person of passion, and the person has to be diligent, and that is commitment. So I hope you are following. Sorry, my slides are kind of freezing, but we will continue. So you should be a committed person. You are not in the everyday workings. You are not there every day. You don't work in the position every day. You come maybe every quarter or that for meetings. But behind the scene, like someone said, that the board member should understand that he works behind the scene, away from the limelight of the everyday. So you have to be committed to be able to do your work effectively. You must be committed because you're not there every day. But wherever you are as a board member, your eyes, your mind should be looking out for anything that concerns the company in the long run, externally and all that. So you have to be committed. That talks about, like I said, the passion. You have to be diligent in preparing for board meetings and things like that. Let's see if the slide will move. Sorry, 1 minute. Let me correct this. Okay. Then we've gone to committed. We've talked about commitment. Then number 4, emotional intelligence. Emotional intelligence is so important in every sphere of life, not only in the boardroom, but as a board member, it is very, very important. Kathleen Ensian-Hart of Stanford University said that the highest performing companies have extremely contentious boards. Extremely contentious boards. So that's what plays out in some boards. People have different opinions. But emotional intelligence helps you to be able to communicate effectively. It helps you to douse tension. It helps you to manage conflicts. And it helps you to gain deeper understanding, discernment. A board member needs discernment. So it helps you with all managing emotions in the board, managing yourself, and helps you bring out the best. Communication is effective. So emotional intelligence is so important. That is one of the lack of it or the absence of it is the bane of some boards where you have very contentious people. And even apart from that, sometimes matters that are discussed in the board, you cannot help but it's sometimes contentious because there are matters that impact long term. It can even impact the economy of the nation. So there's varying or diverse opinions may abound, but your ability to be able to manage your emotions and also understand, show empathy, understand other people goes a long way in bringing out the right and making correct and sound decisions and even bringing out the best from others. So emotional intelligence is very key. Then number 5, collaboration. Collaboration. Like if you remember our definition, we said that the board is to jointly provide corporate governance. It's not an individual show. It's jointly. It's called collaboration is required. You need to know and understand and build yourself to be a team member, not a one-man show. Because people in the board are made up of experienced people, knowledgeable people, even maybe senior people. Excuse me. So your ability to realize that everybody has a stake, everybody has an experience, and we have to work together. That is very key. We're talking about collaboration, talking about inclusion, inclusiveness, knowledge sharing, and empathy, things like that. So number six is bravery. Bravery is so important. Bravery. Some people call it courage. And that is a very key leadership skill, brave. In the board, you have to be a brave person. You cannot have a part in the table, a seat on the table, and you're not able to speak up. An effective board member should be able to speak up when you have something meaningful or something that you know that will help the whole board make a good have a good assessment and make good judgment. So you have to be brave to speak up. Bravery helps to defeat the groupthink tendencies and the hippo effect. The hippo effect, that is the highest paid person opinion. Sometimes in the board, the hippo might be the CEO, it might be the chairman, it might be one very influential member in the board. And when he speaks, everybody keeps quiet. A board member, effective board member, must be brave to speak up and say, "Oh, I have a dissenting view in this. Oh, have we looked at this?" No matter how contentious it might come up to, that is your duty, because bravery helps you with as a fiduciary to exercise your duty of care and loyalty. A loyal person is a brave person. You are sticking out your head for the interest of the shareholders and of the company. So bravery is so important. You cannot be a passive person and be in the board. That will make for ineffectiveness. So whoever you are representing in the board, whether you're generally representing the shareholders, but you might be presenting the community or whatever stakeholder you might be representing in the board. Generally, the interest of the company and its shareholders is very paramount, and it requires bravery. Even for you to avoid conflict of interest that normally arises, you need to be brave. You need to be brave and say, okay, this is against the interest, even though it's my interest. It requires bravery. So bravery is so important in the board. Like Kathleen also said, I like to finish the quote of Professor Kathleen. She said the highest performing companies have extremely contentious boards that regard dissent as an obligation and treat no subject as undiscussable. So that shows bravery. No subject is undiscussable. You can't say, "Oh, just leave that, pretend you didn't hear that, or sweep it, just let it pass." No subject is undiscussable. As long as you have something important to add, you must make your voice known. That is how quality decisions and quality strategies and policies come up. And that is what helps with resilience, bravery. Then the last but not the least, which I consider to be the most important attribute of effective board member, is ethics. An effective board member must be ethically minded. Because like we said in the opening remarks, we said that as a fiduciary, we have a legal and ethical obligation to the company and to its shareholders to act in the best interest. So there's no way you can act in the best interest of anybody if you're not ethical, because it has to do with your morality. The right thing to do by my fellow individual, the right thing to do by this company. So you must be a person of ethics. And in UGN, we came up with what we call the ethical pie, which we always advocate for every professional and more so board members to have in your bag of life, the ethical pie. And that's just like the key aspects of ethics. You have integrity, respect for others, diligence, law abiding, which you can also call discipline, because the board sets the tone at the top, the ethical tone at the top. So we have accountability, honesty, fairness. These are key ethical principles that any board member should always have and develop. If you look at this pie, integrity has the biggest chunk, because integrity is so important. Based on the survey we did we did on this top 7 attributes of an effective board member. We did a survey. I don't know how many of you saw that survey. The survey is still ongoing, but as of today, the result of the survey shows that integrity was ranked number 1 as the top most important attributes of an effective board member. So we cannot overemphasize ethics, the ethics of the board, the ethics of the board. And when you talk about an ethical board, it's not just the ethical board, it's the people, individuals that make up the board that makes it an ethical board. So ethics is very important. Ethics is very important. Okay. Then because of our time, I want to really be very brief. I'm not giving in depth. We'll have a lot of discussions around this attributes and board matters.